A dry but chilly Imola is the venue for the second race of the weekend in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Welcome along to what promises to be another very lively race. Yesterday the championship kicked off with an impressive, pretty dominant win for Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli. But today's grid is going to be a little bit different, and as the cars make their way on to the circuit, it's going to be Kiwi Brendan Leach with Gerhard Batzinger starting on pole position. Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli lining up second on the grid for this 50-minute race, with, as all, of course, the majority of races on an SRO package have, mandatory pit stops with driver changes optional, as in you can, if you wish, go solo, but you have a longer pit stop to make. The car has to be at rest if it is a single driver entry for 63 seconds, whereas this is just 60 for the soloists, and the pit window is between the 20th and 30th minute of the race. Yesterday, as I say, it was a race won by Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli, but starting on pole position today is going to be Brendan Leach, and further back on the grid, certainly a man to watch, is motorcycle ace Danny Pedrosa, who is certainly not the only two-wheel star here this weekend, but a very impressive debut run yesterday. Number 13 there is Stéphane Guérin, who yesterday looked to be on target for a win within the AM category, but was passed right at the very end by Gabriel Rendoni, so he ended up second in class, having led it for the majority of the race. Lamborghini Cup honours yesterday went the way of Hans Fabry. The Pro-Am category yesterday was won by Emanuele Colombini and Emanuele Zonzini, and they were running second for much of it, but ultimately Jean-Luc Daria, in the, as you will see it, white VS Racing number 6 entry, was able to nip past. That is 21, that is Gabriel Rendoni, who was the AM winner yesterday, and he for this race is going to be looking for the double, but he's got some work to do. Brendan Leach starts the pole car. He will hand over to Gerhard Batzinger, who's on the grid with Gemma Scott.
Gerhard, there's a great atmosphere down here on the grid. It's wonderful. And for you, Pole, enjoying the circuit here at Imola?
Yeah, Imola is a fantastic circuit. I'm so glad we have spectators out here this year and a lot of people on the grid, so Imola is always a highlight on the calendar.
You're no stranger to this championship, of course. You were with us last year as well. Things are really tight and competitive.
Oh, it's an extremely competitive series this year. I mean, we have 37 cars on the grid, and if you looked at the qualifying, there were like 10 cars within 0.8 of a second. Yeah, it's unbelievable competitive.
And compared to last year, we've never seen anything quite like this, so busy on the grid. It's a wonderful atmosphere and a great show that Lamborghini put on, right?
Oh, fantastic. You hear the music in the background, the atmosphere is great. I mean, I love to come to Italy every time they have something here, and Lamborghini did a great job, you know, setting this up.
Well, you'll be jumping in for the second stint.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good race.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks,
See you.
Yeah, there is a good atmosphere on the grid. There's the band, there's lots and lots of people, and around the circuit there are banners that say "Welcome back, fans," because it's great to have people back in the paddock. So many of them congregating around the WRT team in the GT World Challenge Europe paddock, because one of the drivers is a certain Valentino Rossi. But there's plenty to look for on the Super Trofeo grid as ever. And there, number 27, the car of Massimo Ciglia and Lewis Williamson. Lewis Williamson started yesterday, Massimo starts today. They were 6th yesterday, and they were in the Pro-Am category 3rd. Massimo Ciglia back for a second season. And the Oregon team, with those familiar colours, multicoloured cars, have won championships in the Renault Clio V6 one-make series, for example, with Luca Rangoni. They've been on the European and World Touring Car Championship grids in Clio Cup Europe. A very, very experienced team. Graduated to Super Trofeo last year, won the championship with Leonardo Pulcini and Kevin Gilardoni. So the grid formed. Just looking down onto it. We have number 54, Marzio Moretti, on the grid with Gemma.
Milan obviously starting here in P3. The weekend didn't start out as you expected, but it looks strong for this race, right?
Yes, it's a good start today. It's my first time in Imola, first time in Super Trofeo, and I am ready.
Looking forward to heading into turn 1.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yesterday, that car got itself up into second place, and then Marzio Moretti, who you've just heard from, went off the road. So disappointment yesterday after what had been looking pretty impressive at one stage. Another car that's going to be worth watching in this is Raffaele Giannoni, who didn't get a time in yesterday, but should be at the back of the grid, one to watch, I think. There is Jean-Luc Darrier, who was really impressive yesterday, moving from GT4 into these cars, and carved his way into second place by the very end. So as the countdown continues, it will be, of course, a rolling start, so the cars will be released, ready for the rolling lap shortly. And a quick look down onto the grid there at number 89, which is the Imperiale racing car of Manuel Bejarano, another newcomer to the championship, but he went well yesterday. Manuel Bejarano finished in 4th place overall, so potentially another man to watch as he becomes more familiar with the car. Number 9 is of Target Racing as well. Dimitri Gravatseva started yesterday, so Milan Petelet, the French driver, starts today. And there is number 54, which is another of the Target Racing fleet of Marzio Moretti, Carrera Capitalia front runner. Now moving brands towards Lamborghini, and as I say, went well yesterday before he had that off, but Marzio Moretti, again, should be a man to watch here. You see all the little scrutineering tickets up the side of the roll cage inside. Number 61, the winning car yesterday, and I suspect will be the winning car today, given the pace that Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli had. Big question mark really is whether Brandon Leach in number 70 can get away and build a gap. There is number 70. So Brendan Leach, who's doing double duty this weekend, he's also on the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup grid. He will start, and then the car will be handed over from the New Zealander to the American-based Gerhard Watzinger, from whom we heard a little while ago. So last year Gerhard went solo. This year the car gains a co-driver. Brendan Leach driving for Lippert within World Challenge, so it makes sense for him to maximise his time on the track with the team. And although cars are different, these are the Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s as against a GT3 car. What you are gaining is mileage of the track, and that's always very useful when you're going to new circuits. So there, the grid just about good to go. Fans in the background looking out over the exit of the last corner at Ravazza. So Brendan Leach in the red car on pole position. Yesterday, he and Gerhard Watzinger were 10th. Now, because Brendan Leach is put into the car, so it has become an entry that now runs in Pro-Am, whereas Gerhard Watzinger on his own, of course, was an Am last season. So the band makes its way off the grid. The drivers now ready for the 1 minute board left with the last of their engineers. Number 29, then Dani Pedrosa, good to go. And the two-wheel start with a bit of work to do because he starts a little way back on the grid, but will be one to keep an eye on definitely. The more laps he does, the better he will get. And Dani Pedrosa starts 21st on the grid before handing over to Antonin Borja. Right, engines fire. So rolling start behind there, the Lamborghini Urus. Mandatory pit stops, driver changes where applicable. And very shortly, we'll get the cars underway. So one car that didn't race yesterday was number 2 because Elie Dubelli had an off leaving the pit lane round to the grid, and the car was damaged and didn't start. Pierre Falegioni will drive today, and that car will start today. That car's on the 9th row of the grid. So away they go behind the lead car as it is, ready for the rolling start. A grid full of Super Trofeo Lamborghinis always makes a fantastic noise, no question about it. It's a great spectacle. Another season about to get underway here at Imola with, of course, then the championship having its first 5 events as part of SRO race weekend. And then, as is the tradition, the Lamborghini World Finals will be the event at which the championships finish, not only the European, but also the Asian, after a 2-year hiatus, and the American. So it is going to be Brendan Leach that starts on pole position with Max Wearing alongside. Marzio Moretti starts third, and Milan Petelet for Target Racing, his teammate, is alongside. Then Manuel Bajarano, Josef Zaruba in the Pro-Am car that he shares with Bronek Formanek. It rounds out the third row of the grid ahead of Jean-Luc Daria, man to watch, and Massimo Ciglia, another man to watch, in fact, ahead of Gabriel Rindoni, yesterday's AM victor, and the vanquished of yesterday, Stefan Guerin, another driver stepping up from GT4 to Super Trofeo. Andrei Lewandowski, a prolific class champion, lines up alongside Omar Bonduel on the 6th row. Row 7 is Enrico Bertora lining up with, alongside him, the Romanian driver, David Mihai Seban. Then it is Cyril Lima starting in the family car with Holger Harmsen, a soloist, alongside on row 8. Row 9 is where you find Oscar Lee sharing with the ever-quick Dan Wells, and then Pierre Feligioni for Boutsen Racing is alongside. On the 10th row, there is Emmanuel Colombini and Oliver Freimuth next alongside him, with Danny Pedrosa starting 21st and Raf Mikrut going from 22nd in the shared GT3 Poland entry. Marc Rostin is 23rd on the grid ahead of Jürgen Krebs. 13th row is where you find another serial titleist, Gerard van der Horst, and lining up alongside him is Kerong Lee, another newcomer to the championship ahead of yesterday's Lamborghini Cup winner Hans Fabry, and Damien Chiosek alongside him. Then, number 32 is going to be driven in the first stint by Sandro Meur, and alongside aboard number 91 is Paolo Biglieri. Then we have Luciano Previtelio, dad, handing over to his son. Francois Grimm is alongside him in the Boutsen Racing car, ahead of Rodrigo Reger de Ceves and Kumar Prabhakaran, the Malaysian driver, back for another season of racing in Europe. The back row of the grid, or the back full row, is where you will find the cars of, first of all, number 11, which is Alessandro Tarabini, and Raffaele Giannoni completes the grid as the field then comes down to Rivazza. Just looking at that grid as I scroll through, I have a feeling that we've lost one car, which is Oliver Freimuth. So we've got the cars also being given an extra formation lap, but this is not counting within the time. The clock has not started, but they are being given, because it's such a cold day, another opportunity to get some warm into the Pirelli tyres. So the cars then up to Tamburello. So Brendan Leach on pole position versus Max Wearing. Now Max drove in the championship last year, so although he doesn't necessarily know this circuit, he does know the car. He was in jolly mood at the end of yesterday after the win, understandably. Last year, I should say, the combination of Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli only really happened late season, because Max had a chance of winning the championship. And to help that, they brought in Loris Spinelli, who is ultra fast in one of these cars, and they had victories at the Nürburgring and also then at Misano, where the last rounds were held. But a drama in the final race meant that the title did go the way of Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni. So although the plan to win the championship didn't pay off, it was certainly deemed that the partnership had been successful enough to be worth continuing into this year, and so they're back together. And it started well with a win yesterday. Up the hill goes the midfield and rear of the field, ready for the drop down to Rivazza, where they will get themselves into the 2x2 formation, ready for the start of the race. So pole position goes to the quick Kiwi Brendan Leach. Can he get away from Max Wearing? It's going to be a really interesting stint. Of course, they're not fighting necessarily for the same win, because one is a Pro-Am, one is a Pro category car. So it's the class points, the class positions that matter. There is the point for pole as well. Down the hill they come. So the red car is Brendan Leach. There is the multicoloured Bonaldi entry alongside of Max Wearing. I like the yellow flash on the wheels, makes your eyes go funny, but it works well on that car. And then on the second row of the grid, you've got Marzio Moretti trying to avenge yesterday's dramas when he went off the road, and alongside him is Milan Petelet, his teammate. So now the cars accelerate up towards the line, ready for the lights to change then to get things underway, which will happen any moment because the long drag out of Ravazza up towards the line is almost complete. The race director, Alain Adon, has his finger on the button. He's ready to give the instruction, if he's happy, that the lights can change, and so almost a bit of overtaking further back there. It was that Oscar Lee darting out of the draft and getting back in again as he realised he shouldn't have done that, but the lights will change. Now the lights go green, we go racing. Good start by Leach. Is he going to be able to stay ahead then on the run up towards Tamburello for the first time? Side by side they run into the braking zone. Brendan Leach in the red car brakes as late as he does, and he does claim the advantage then. He goes through in the lead. It's always a bit of a tight squeeze into that first Tamburello chicane, but so far so good. They've all made it through at the front of the queue, and Brendan Leach has a little weave left and right there to try and shake off the attack of Max Wearing, trying to break any toe that might have been given, and also to try and get a bit more warmth into the tyres. But Brendan Leach leads through the Villeneuve chicane for the first time. Wearing is second, Moretti third, Petelet is fourth. Fifth is, by the look of it now, Jean-Luc Daria. Down to sixth has gone Manuel Bejarano. Everybody out of the Villeneuve chicane on that short run up towards Tosa. On the outside line there you saw number 90, which is the car in the hands of Holger Harmsen. He drives on his own in this, so it's a grueling race in a sense, but he has got the race to himself and doesn't have to worry about losing any track time to a co-driver, or a co-driver doing anything silly even either. So Brendan Leach leads, and he's getting away a bit, isn't he, on this opening lap? He's certainly pushing on, and he's built an advantage of, I would suggest, about 0.6 of a second already, looking at sector times. So Brendan Leach it is, Brandon Leach rather, who comes now down through the chicane, bounces over the curb, and now the run onto the end of the lap, heading towards Ravazza, and the safety car has just gone onto the circuit, and that's the reason why 87 is off the racetrack, and so also by the look of it is Oliver Freimuth's car. 87 is Keron Lee, and 24 Oliver Freimuth, I'm sure, was the other car involved in that. So safety car deployed, and an early safety car period as well. This all of course counts within the 50 minutes, so that looked like it was down at Ravazza, and the car's off the road, so that's why the safety car is deployed, and everybody has to slow down, of course, as the incident is attended to. Sandro Muir, number 32, going through. So the drivers get the message, the safety car deployed. And everybody now forms up behind. So, race order, Brendan Leach leads the way from Max Wearing in second spot, third being Marzio Moretti. In fourth place, when they came pouring over the line, was Milan Petelet. In fifth place, Jean-Luc Daria, so good progress made early on. Sixth, Manuel Bejarano, who's fallen back a little bit, and then in seventh place, it was Josef Zaruba, ahead of Amaury Bonduel. Ninth, Massimo Ciglia, and the top 10 rounded out by Andrei Lewandowski. So Brendan Leach, race leader at the end of lap one, and of course here's the frustration for the pro in a Pro-Am car. Early safety car means you don't have as many laps to try to stretch the gap for your co-driver. So, having said that it was Keron Lee that we lost, that also going off the road is, I think, Raffaele Giannoni's car, which is down to the back of the order. It had been gaining places from the rear of the grid and then going off the road, so that's able to rejoin. But Keron Lee off the road in 87. We've also lost Luciano Privitello and Alessandro Tarabini somewhere as well. Two more cars that didn't come through at the end of the opening lap. And that is what happened at the top of Piratella. That's why the safety car is out, because it was a pretty high-speed incident between those two. So, first check to make sure the drivers are okay. Second check to make sure that no barrier repairs are needed. And then as soon as the cars are out of the way, then the restart procedure can be addressed. But as for Privitello and Tarabini, plot thickens a bit there. So the cars head downhill. Dani Pedrosa is still acquainting himself with Lamborghini Super Trofeo racing, but 20th he is in the Pro-Am car. And Max Weering is currently running in second spot, as you know, and 6/10 back from Brendan Leach, but it's a rather false gap at the moment, given that we're under the safety car procedure like this. Safety car pounds over the line, so the speed certainly picks up, which does rather suggest we might be not too far away from getting racing back underway, but the safety car not hanging about, that's for sure, when it came past the pits just now. Replay of the start, which is where Brendan Leach was able to gain the advantage over Max Weering. Yes, he had the inside line from pole position, but Max Weering had good pace, trying to level with him on the run up towards the Tamburello for the first time, but wasn't quite able to make that move stick. This from on board with Max Weering. The Flying Dutchman has Brendan Leach on his left, and if you're not ahead by the time you get to the corner on that longer outside line, you're going to have to give way. And staying on the inside for the middle part only really puts you in jeopardy, so they all funnel through safely. This is how Dani Pedrosa saw the start of the race. See how busy it is up the road, but the two-wheel hero finds a good gap on the inside, picks up places, and then the field all starts to concertina ahead as they break for Tamburello. The left, right, left sequence, of course, the corner modified after the sad events in 1994 here. Then the road opens up on the sprint down towards the Villeneuve chicane. So, safety car still out. Brendan Leach, Max Weering, Marzio Moretti, the top three. Yellow flags waved around the circuit. It's a cold old day, that's for sure, so not the easiest for drivers to get warmth into tyres. That might be another contributing factor to the incident on that first racing lap. So, of course, the start slightly delayed in as much as we had the extra formation lap, and then at the end of the first lap, out comes the safety car. So, from the driver's point of view, that's why they're busy weaving to try and get warmth into the tyres and also get the pressures up, ready for the restart. 50-minute race, as I say, pit windows between 20 and 30. The car has to be at rest for 60 seconds for the two drivers, 63 for the solo drivers. Why the difference? Because if you're on your own, you do have a slight advantage because you know what the car and the track are like. So you can carry on where you left off in the second stint, whereas it's a little bit different for the incoming driver of the second car. Through they pour, and the safety car, I'd love to know its lap times, because as I say, every time it comes past the pits it looks to be very, very rapid indeed. Now of course a road car being hustled along does look very more dramatic without any aero to keep it on the ground, so it inevitably looks quick, but the fact that the field actually is pretty strung out at the moment does suggest that the safety car is going at a fair old speed, which is important to try and keep the tyres with any sort of temperature in, ready for the restart. But for the moment, there's no suggestion that it's going to be in at the end of this lap. They've just gone past the main incident zone. But as for the Privitello and Tarabini cars, either they didn't start or they've had an incident elsewhere that we've not seen, because they have also not done a lap, but they weren't involved in that tangle that we quickly saw the replay of. Raffaele Giannoni having to do all the hard yards again. All the places he'd made up, he's lost after his spin here. This is Gabriel Rindoni. So he's currently second in the AM fight. Andrzej Lewandowski, serial title winner out of AM or Pro-Am, with Karol Bash, both in the championship or the world final. He's a leading AM at the moment. The leading Lamborghini Cup car, 88, as often it is, Hans Fabry, ahead of Gerard van der Horst and Francois Green. Pro-Am is Brendan Leach leading it from Milan Petelet and then Josef Zaruba. And then the pros, well, Max Weering there in second place overall, Marzio Moretti third overall, and Jean-Luc Daria fifth overall. Petelet for Target Racing. But another lap about to be ticked off here by the safety car. So the frustration for the drivers. They can't yet go racing, but as soon as the road allows, they will. Through they pour once again. Looking at the Oregon entry, there it is, further down the order of Enrico Bettera. 55 going through, that is Andrei Lewandowski. And safety car will be in at the end of this lap. So it's been about 10 minutes that safety car has been out on the circuit for, but the lights will be out, probably heading up towards Variante Alta. And then Brendan Leach can go again, but he's just lost, as I say, the best part of 10 minutes of trying to build up a gap for Gerhard Watzinger. But the opposition really is not Max Wearing, because that's a pro-class car. The opposition is going to come from number 9 in Pro-Am, Milan Petelet, who will give way to Dimitri Gavatseva for the second stint. So there, number 6, Jean-Luc Daria. Last year shared a Mercedes in GT4 with Jamie Caroline, but this year making the switch across to Super Trofeo, in which of course everybody has the same equipment, and you go to a team and sometimes you're given a co-driver that you've never come across before, so you've got to learn about a new car, learn about a new relationship as well. Right, the lights are indeed out at the Variante Alta. The safety car will be in at the end of this lap, so we're good to go racing again. Number 2 of Pierre Feligioni, so didn't start yesterday. He's got up to 17th at the end of the opening racing lap and has work to do from there, as now Brendan Leach slows the pace right down as they drop down towards Ravazza. What he wants, of course, is to get them all stacked up behind him and then accelerate away and try and catch Max Wearing unawares, get a good restart, try and build a little bit more of a gap, and then there's that long acceleration run up towards the timing line. Gerhard Watzinger watches on from the pits, and Brendan Leach is accelerating away now. And have we got a problem there? Look, because there's one car very, very slow away. Now, who is that? It's 54, which was third. It is Marzio Moretti. I was just wondering if it had a flat, because the car looks slightly low on a corner, but Marzio Moretti, as the race gets underway, does not go with them. So Moretti has got a problem. He falls into the pack as Brendan Leach leads. Max Wearing through Tamburello they come. This is Max Wearing's view. They're back racing here at Imola. So the field accelerates through the Villeneuve chicane now. Brendan Leach is trying to do what he did on that first racing lap prior to the safety car, build that gap. Up to third place then is Milan Petelet. Jean-Luc Daria runs 4th, ahead of Manuel Bergerano now, and 6th, Josef Zaruba. Well, there was no way that the drivers couldn't overtake the slow number 54 entry of Marzio Moretti. He dived out of harm's way, and did he actually cross the line? Yes, he did. He was down in 12th place, but still going. So whether or not the car can pick up pace or it's going to crawl round to the pits, we'll have to wait and see. But it did at least carry on to the lap. It couldn't, of course, have dived into the pit lane. The problem pretty much happened as he tried to accelerate, which was after they'd gone past pit in. So the new third place driver is there. It is Milan Petelet ahead of Jean-Luc Daria. Manuel Bergerano is next. The cars head once more up towards Variante Alta through the right and the left. They'll use as much curb as they are comfortable with. Fastest lap, by the way, is the man that's last but one, Raffaele Giannoni, because, of course, the cars at the back able to accelerate earlier on the restart, and so he had greater pace coming over the line. So even though he's penultimate, he did the fastest lap, but it's a phony fastest lap, and it won't stay for long. There's 55 of Andrei Lewandowski. His season ended with a pretty badly damaged car in the World Finals last year, when the brakes failed on him, but he's bounced back this season and running as a soloist. We know now that 54 has stopped, but in a safe position. So Marzio Moretti retired yesterday after an off at Tamburello. He's retired today as well. Big, big shame. So Brendan Leach trying to build the gap. It was nearly a second at the end of the first lap. He's done the fastest lap, perhaps not surprising given that he's out front. He's got Max Wearing chasing on behind him as they wriggle clear of Villeneuve chicane. This is Wearing's view then up towards Tosa now. Turn through the left-hander, get back onto the power, sprint up the hill. And you can see the gap. The top two have pulled over the second car in Pro-Am. Third overall there, Milan Petelet. Behind is Jean-Luc Daria. Massimo Ciglia there in the Oregon car with the pink nose next in the queue, and another good little fight here is 22, which is Josef Zaruba, with behind him Amaury Bonduel looking for a way through. Bonduel runs in Pro, Zaruba with Bronek Formanek in Pro-Am, and the two of them nose to tail, different classes but sixth overall. The fight is 4. Once more up towards the Variante Alta, through the right and the left they flick, right over the curbs. And now the drop downhill once more, heading for Rivazza. So the leaders with this advantage of 9/10 of a second, Brendan Leach and Gerhard Watzinger. There, 28, Amaury Bonduel pushes on. He's not quite able to make a move yet against Josef Zaruba, but it's not far off before he can attack the former Formula Renault driver up past the pits. So Brendan Leach leads the way from Max Weering in second spot. Petelet goes through third, then Daria Bergerano, Josef Zaruba, Amaury Bonduel, Massimo Ciglia, that's André Lewandowski with the green front, and then Stefan Guerin rounding out the top 10 behind him. Gabriel Rindoni has lost the place therefore. He's ahead of Holger Harmsen and Cyril Leimer, the field pouring through. One car that went well yesterday, led for a time, number 78, ended up third. Emmanuel Colombini at the wheel of it, way back at the moment in 18. Didn't qualify that well, not getting through the traffic either. That said, hasn't had many laps in which to do it, as Dani Pedrosa here, the Spaniard, accelerates clear of the chicane. So the 250cc world champion on 2 wheels, now adapting to car racing. And doing it in a high-profile enough championship, but without the brightest of spotlights. Good move, really. As there, Josef Zaruba is under real attack, isn't he now? Because Bonduel right on his tail. He's always quick through this section of circuit, Amaury Bonduel, and tries to think about a move into Acqua Minerale, but not able to do it this time around. It's quick into the corner, doesn't lose too much speed as the car just washes out a touch on the exit up the hill, thinks about the inside line. It's such a narrow entry to that, and there's drama there. That's Gerard van der Horst's car, is it, or is that Colombini? It's Colombini. Emmanuel Colombini, third yesterday, has stopped on the circuit. Just mentioning the fact the car was 18th. It's had a spin by the look of it, gets going. So I think what you saw with the flame coming out of the back was him frantically trying to start the engine again, and the unburnt fuel spitting out of the back. He rejoins ahead of Kumar Prabhakaran, and that's going to put him into 30th place then. So third yesterday, 30th on the racetrack at the moment, and still a lot more work to do to try and salvage any result out of this. So there is the race leader. The gap is increasing, 2 seconds, but in real terms, it's Brendan Leach versus Milan Petelet we need to be looking at for the Pro-Am honours. First to third. Here is a replay of, yes, Colombini ran way wide coming out of Tosa, got onto the grass, skimmed the wall with the wing, looped it. That's why he stopped on the circuit, and then tried to restart the car. So back into the race he has gone as number 6, Jean-Luc Daria, turns out of Tosa and now climbs the hill once again. Now Daria versus Milan Petelet ahead. In terms of lap time, actually, Jean-Luc Daria not yet being able to close that gap, but of course he has a quick co-driver in Stefan Tribolini, and it's a pro car anyway as against a Pro-Am. So the fight he's got really is with Max Weering, number 61, as 14 turns through. Enrico Vettora, another of the Oregon cars, and it is another of those that runs in the Pro-Am class, forgive me, and has got some work to do to get podiums in this race, because there's a lot of traffic up the road ahead, not only of pro cars but AMs as well. So Enrico Vettora effectively running out of position at the moment. Big scrabble there through the chicane. Cyril Leimer nearly running out of road, but he survives the experience. Cyril Leimer, mainstay of Lamborghini racing for many seasons. Down the hill comes number 13 for the Arcadia Racing team, Stefan Guerin. So at the moment he's second in the AMs. The green-fronted car ahead is André Lewandowski, his main rival at the moment. He's the class leader, Lewandowski, who has been a Pro-Am winner twice, an AM winner once, plus his successes within the World Final itself. So André Lewandowski, another loyal Lamborghini racer for many seasons. Through he goes. And we've got a yellow out at the end of the lap, apparently. So someone's had a little drama somewhere. But Lewandowski, the AM class leader, storms into the Villeneuve chicane with an advantage then over Stefan Guerin of 0.6 of a second at the moment. We're going to go full course yellow. We had the 20-second notification, and the full course yellow will then be updated at 10, and then the countdown for the full course yellow process begins. So full course yellow is about to happen because Cyril Lima, having saved one at the Variante Alta, didn't save it at Ravazza, and he's in the gravel. So full course yellow is called for. So we've had a safety car, now full course yellow, and that was just as the pit window was about to open. And the pit window does indeed open. So full course yellow, which in a sense, under a full course yellow period at the pit window opening, is fine because the cars are running at a slower pace anyway. You can anticipate most people getting the stops done under full course yellow, and therefore it's going to be easier after the stops, still keeping the full course yellow going potentially, to get the safety car out, get the correct order ready for the restart. So it's 63 in the gravel, as you saw, Cyril Lima, and the leader comes in. I would imagine you'll have a completely clear road, actually. I think everybody will serve the mandatory stops under this full course yellow, although that said, no, there are one or two that are going to try and brave it out. So Milan Petelet and also Jean-Luc Dowry buck the trend. Now, I would be surprised if this were purely a full course yellow period. I would imagine the safety car will be used for the restart, and therefore it will be a longish period, and therefore they might regret that decision. We'll roll of the dice, but they've stayed out. Others, the majority, I think will try and come in. So new race leader, number 9, Milan Petelet. In has come, as you see, Max Weering, and he gets out of the car. And the next shape that gets in will be that of Loris Spinelli. So there's the new leader, Milan Petelet. Jean-Luc Dowry behind him. Coming now into the Tamburello sequence of corners, the chicane at the start of the lap. Approaching halfway in this 50-minute race, not too far adrift of that now. And another interruption for the drivers, but this, again, would suggest, if we had a safety car on the first lap, that it will become safety car eventually, because, as you saw, the benefit of a safety car over full course yellow is that the cars can go faster, therefore tyres, brakes, up to temperature, pressure's up as well, ready for the restart, and although the cars are closer together on track, they're almost safer to go racing because of the extra temperatures that the drivers have, certainly within the rubber. So Alain Adam, who's the new race director for this year for Super Trofeo, will be perhaps using the same principle he does in GT World Challenge Europe. Very experienced race official. So it's his trademark way of doing it. Full course yellow, if you can do it early, slow everybody down, sort out the incident, and then release them under the safety car. So pit stops are cycling through. And the majority of the field, as I say, have been in because it would be the ideal opportunity to get the stop served. So there is number 61 now, Loris Spinelli, which has got ahead, has it not? Yes, of Gerhard Watzinger's car. So in real terms, that's a change for the lead of the race. It was the red Lippert car ahead before the stops. So Gerhard Watzinger falls back. So his pit stop was 1 minute and 43, whereas the Spinelli and Weering stop was 1 minute and 38. So a much, much faster pit stop for the car that now leads the race. And the other one that's possibly done quite well in terms of a pit stop time, number 27, Massimo Ciglia, giving way to Lewis Williamson, because that was also pretty quick. But of course the other element to this is that you've got to make sure that your pit stop is to the regulations, because it's not just, I was talking about how long you've got to be at rest for, there's also the delta drive time to add on to that as well. So quite often a team, if they don't quite time the release to the correct moment, find themselves short on the pit stop, and at the end of the pit stop window, then the data comes from the timekeeping service who is timing to say, right, these are the ones that are under the number, and therefore if you're under by a few tenths, that's multiplied by 3 and that's added on. If you're out by seconds, then the penalties are far more draconian. So others serve their stops, And these are the two that didn't last time, and now think they really ought to. So Milon Petelet, number 9, Jean-Luc Darrier, number 6, do come in. And we'll see where that drops them to, where that puts them after the cars have been through. Now, of course, if we suddenly went safety car now, everybody would go quicker, everybody would bunch up, and those that were behind initially will be able to jump ahead. Under full course yellow, shouldn't make too much difference. But where they can gain or lose is on the pit stop time itself. As I say, if it's, as long as it's over the regulation time, that is fine. If you're over by a tenth, that's good. If you're over by more than that, clearly you're losing time against your rivals. So there, the VS Racing entry sits in the pit lane. Stefan Tribudini, former Alpine GT4 racer, will get on board, and Dmitry Kravatseva will get on board this car of Milon Petelet. So not only is that for the moment taking the lead, but also it is now worth keeping an eye to within Pro-Am, where so also is going to be 27. Now, Lewis Williamson in the Pro-Am Oregon car, a good pit stop, and another one to keep an eye on when we go back racing. One or two of the back markers also now running in this train, as we've already got cars being investigated for speeding in the pit lane. One of them is Raf Mikra at number 5, another one number 78, the VS Racing car of Emanuele Colombini, who spun, and Emanuele Zonzini, and the other one, number 91, is Paolo Biglieri, who gave way to Pietro Parolini. So again, there is no hiding, because the data is such from the officials that they have all the data they need. They're back into the race in the lead now, number 9. So by staying out a lap later, it has worked in favour, seemingly, of Dmitry Kravatseva, because there he is the race leader. And so in second place, he's going to be Loris Spinelli. In third is Gerhard Watzinger. And then in fourth place, it's Stefan Tribudini in the white car. In fifth place, Manuel Bergerano. In sixth, Lewis Williamson. In seventh place, now Bronek Formanek. Eighth, leading the AM, Stefan Guerin. Ninth, Gabriel Rindoni in AM. And down to third in AM and 10th overall is Andrei Lewandowski. And the best of those in the Lamborghini Cup right now, Gerard van der Horst, 16th overall. So as the cars now turn down through the Villeneuve chicane, Dmitry Kravatseva leads. So everybody should by now have served the mandatory pit stop. Still under full course yellow conditions. It's the last of the stoppers, is it not? So we've got Jürgen Krebs in, that's Sandro Muir. And also in has come number 12, which is Regis Rego de Sebas, and Enrico Bettera for Oregon. So yeah, everybody has come in. Not everybody has yet gone out, but everybody has undertaken their stop. And the window is going to close in about 4 seconds' time. 97 is under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. Jürgen Krebs brought it in for Tim Muller to take back into the race. So as the leading pro car now then of Loris Spinelli comes towards the Variante Alta. The pro class opposition is not that one, but it's the white VS Racing entry there you see as the third of these cars, now with Stefan Tribudini behind the wheel. But under the full course yellow conditions, of course, you have to crawl around at this delta speed. The pit window is now closed, pretty much. I know, got a few seconds still to run. Then the safety car is entering the circuit. So now, safety car on track, and exactly the usual format that you see in GT World Challenge Europe. The safety car will scoop up the leader now. Then, of course, cars can go faster. The gaps will all come down, and we'll get ready for the restart. So the final, which is going to be less than 20 minutes, probably about 16 I would suggest when we go racing, maybe less than that even, will be dramatic because the bulk of the field will be as one, and it gives those cars, those drivers that had lost time early on, a real chance to fight back. So over the line comes the leader, Dmitry Gavatseva. You see the gap that he had under the full course yellow period. What was his pit stop time? It was a 1:38.7, a tenth quicker, only a tenth quicker than Spinelli, much quicker than the Vatzinger Leach stop there in third place. And so the safety car is ahead of Gavatseva. We await confirmation of safety car procedure. That recovering is 97, already being investigated for speeding in the pit lane, the Muller-Krebs car, but got himself in a bit of woe up at the top of the hill. Now we go safety car, which means that you can go faster. What happened to 97 then? Oh, just a spin on cold rubber under full course yellow conditions as well. So Tim Muller having a moment. Right, so now the safety car process begins. That means that people can speed up to match the pace of the safety car. And hopefully everybody gets the message, because there are still a few crawling around thinking it's full course yellow. On occasions, if a car is very slow, not responding to the safety car requests, you are allowed to go past it under specific guidance from the race director. But you don't take that decision yourself. So the field coming down towards Acqua Minerale. The next target, of course, is to get the cars in a line. Otherwise, they're going to be strung all around the circuit. Some released for racing, others still going at a reduced pace, and that doesn't become very safe either. And under the safety car, we've got another one off the road, and it's number 5, which is Gregor Mochulski. So it's going to be an elongated safety car period now, surely, to get that car out of the way. So we've had a spin under a full course yellow and off into the gravel under the safety car. Number 5, Gregor Mochulski, was in 18th place, runs in the AM class. But that's off the road as well now. So down the hill they come, and Alain Adon, race control, must be getting a little bit irate at this point, because just when you're ready to try and get things back underway, you have somebody else bidding it. But to go off the road under a effectively waved yellow flag situation like this, whether it's a spin under a full course yellow, as you saw from Tim Muller, or into the gravel, as is in the case of Gregor Mochulski, it tends not to go down well with race officials. So the cars come over the line, but we could be quite a few more minutes yet. Fastest lap of the race seems hours ago. Brendan Leach, after the initial full course yellow period, initial safety car period, forgive me, and Loris Spinelli here trying to get the warmth back in the rubber. Fans welcomed back to Imola, to GT World Challenge Europe and Super Trofeo events. There's some good numbers of them here to watch the action. Very good GT2 race earlier on in the day, and it's a real shame that Super Trofeo has been affected by these incidents. Confirmation it's at Tamburello where we've lost Rafael Mikrut and Gregor Mochulski's car. Gregor Mochulski at the wheel of it. Tamburello then comes now Antonin Borga in the car that Dani Pedrosa handed over to him, and that's his 16th place overall, but it is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in class now. Run by the Rexall FFF racing team, the same FFF racing team that has so much success in World Challenge Europe a few seasons back, with Andrea Caldarelli's team bringing in the GT World Challenge endurance and sprint events. And a Super Trofeo squad has been in existence for a season or two, but it's a much bigger campaign this year, more cars being run within the Super Trofeo. And Dosky turns through. So class leaders, outright and Pro-Am, Dimitri Gavatsov are aboard number 9. The leading Pro, of course, 61 is Loris Spinelli. The leading Am is number 13, Stefan Guerin, who is in 13th. And the leading Lamborghini Cup entry now has become Hans Fabry after the stops, up into 18th place. So 15 minutes and change on the clock, as you see from the countdown. And we have the cars, they're now coming into Variante Alta with this safety car period a little elongated so that Gregor Machulski's car can be dragged out of the way. And as soon as the road is clear, then we should be in business. Down through the approach to Rivazza they come. And there you can see aboard number 12 with the McDonald's logos adorning the front of it. Now Daniel Waszyński, a car run by the Boutsen team. So safety car heads over the timing line once more. And the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. So safety car in this time. So the drivers will now get that information from their teams. Start therefore to quicken the pace, get themselves set ready for the resumption of the race. And then what are we going to have? 11 minutes maybe or so before we can get to the checkered flag. So drivers hoping at this juncture to get through without dramas. 2, which is Elie Dubeli. Didn't start yesterday's race after an incident leaving the pit lane, but going better today. The car started by Pierre Feligioni and running in 13th place, which is a good effort. So out of the Variante Alta they come. Now the drivers prepare themselves for the restart. Lights out on top of the safety car. So they've all got the message. And with just under 13 minutes now, as the cars come down towards the Rivazza corner, the race about to get underway. Amongst those under investigation are the 2 leading cars for their pit stop times. So as we go green, Dimitri Gavatsov leads but is under investigation. So is Loris Spinelli behind him. There are another 2 as well, Oscar Lee and Dan Wells' car being investigated, and the Zonzini Colombini entry 2. And there, up the inside line goes Stefan Tribodini to get ahead of Gerhard Watzinger, goes through, picks up the place on the inside, and also Manuel Bejarano goes through as well. So Gerhard Watzinger falls back into the clutches of Lewis Williamson, who's another in Pro-Am, and therefore that is about to take a place away. Yes, he's gone through, so Lewis Williamson, the British driver, goes by on the inside line up into now second in Pro-Am. Dimitri Gavatsov leads on the road. It is Loris Spinelli second, but the one that might win the race outright with penalties, if there are any in the system, is Stefan Tribodini. And normally when you're told something's under investigation, there's not much to investigate. The evidence is there anyway as an alert. Up through Tosa come the cars then for the first time, climbing towards Piratella, first time on this restart. 11.5 minutes. But now if there are penalties coming, the fascination will be whether they're going to be tenths or much, much more than that, whether it's going to be a car having to serve a drive-through even, which would take it out of contention altogether. Pressure on Gavatsov, the Am there being given a hard time by Pro Spinelli, who looks to try to find a way past him. Is there room on the inside of Variante Alta? Not this time, there isn't. So Dimitri Gavatsov moves across, covers the line, and while he's holding up Spinelli like this, so Stefan Tribodini is closing all the while. So Dimitri Gavatsov trying to hang on to the lead. We've got 1 or 2 cars being given drive-throughs for speeding in the pit lane. Doesn't affect what you're looking at for the race lead, but 4 cars being penalised for speeding. I'll come to those when we get a chance, because as the field now accelerates up out of Rivazza, Gavatsova in the lead, leads Spinelli second, and then for third place, Stefan Tribodini, who's not quite got himself onto the back yet, but he's inching closer and closer and closer to Spinelli as the fans look on over the timing line. This is Spinelli's view between the walls, up towards Tamburello now, turn left, but then instead of it being a fast looping left, then right and left again out of the chicane. 10.5 minutes are on the clock as the car's now powered down towards the Villeneuve chicane yet again. So Tribodini, his last lap in third place was a 43.2, a tenth quicker than Spinelli. So he's getting there, but he needs Gavatsova to be the cork in the bottle a little bit and keep Spinelli at bay to give him a chance of catching up. It's all kicking off in the AMS as well now, because Stefan Guerin has got Gabriel Rindoni behind him. Andrei Lewandowski trying to join the party as well, but he's got to get past Amaury Bonduel first. Dan Wells being investigated for pit stop. Will have 2 seconds added at the end of the race. So number 51, 2.1 seconds added to the race time. And other penalties, I suspect, are coming. So the leaders then on lap 17. Drama for Gavatsova over the curbs. Loris Spinelli doesn't take advantage of that. So through they come. But Dmitry Gavatsova now is about to get mugged by Loris Spinelli. Through on the inside line goes number 61. So Spinelli picks up the race lead. He's already leading his class, of course, but now he's the outright leader looking for a double. And number 9, he's going to have 0.6 of a second added to the race time. So car number 9 there, Dmitry Gavatsova, will have 0.612 of a second added at the end of the race. Through goes number 61. So Loris Spinelli, the on-the-road leader. Stefan Tribodini not yet able to make a move against Gavatsova. He's not quite close enough. He's taking Manuel Bejarano with him, coming out of the Tamburello chicane. And that is Holger Harmsen's car that is off the road. And you know what's coming now, don't you? Because that's right on the lip of the circuit. It's going to be another interruption, I fear. So Spinelli leads, but they're going to concertina again, potentially. Daria's car in the hands of Tribodini third. Manuel Bejarano is in fourth. In fifth place is Lewis Williamson then. So the Oregon car at the back of this queue, looking to try to take a Pro-Am win here, away from the black car there of Dmitry Gavatsova. And on pace, that's certainly doable. So we've got yellow flags out in the final sector. And drama there, that's the Gerhard Watzinger car that's had a spin in replay. Remember, that led for a tie, but has fallen way, way back in the order now. So Loris Spinelli leads the way. He's trying to build that gap. Now, of course, if there is another full course yellow or safety car period because of this car off the road, then those that have got the penalties to add on at the end are going to be in real strife. So Loris Spinelli is one that I think has been given a time penalty, but he leads on the road and he's trying to stretch the margin as much as he can. There is the car in the gravel. The yellow flag's covering it for the moment, but on the one hand, the race director trying to let the race go, but nope, safety car's coming out of the pit lane. So we are going to have to go safety car once more, it seems. The safety car is on the track, and the safety car is deployed yet again. And with 7 minutes on the clock, this might be where it ends. Let's see. So over the timing line comes Loris Spinelli. So he is up front, but Dmitry Gavatsova runs in second spot behind him, both of whom have got time penalties. And so Stefan Tribodini in third place might be in the pound seats here. Getting a replay here of the cars pouring through Rivazza. And this was on the last restart, bit of contact between the two of them. So this is how Loris Spinelli saw it. And came through Rivazza, accelerated to try to get the drop on Gavatsova, who moved across slightly randomly. And what was all that about? Or words to that effect, ponders Loris Spinelli. So the cars then now under safety car conditions. Holger Harmsen's car out of the gravel. So the clock ticks on down. Hopefully it won't take too long to get number 90 out of the way. But again, for those drivers needing to try to push and open up gaps, this totally goes against them. So Loris Spinelli, it is up front. So down the hill they come into Acqua Minerale with Loris Spinelli, the on-the-road leader. And again, he needs to storm away and try and build up that gap on the resumption of the race. 97 there is another car that's got a drive-through for speeding in the pit lane. That's the Jürgen Krebs Tim Muller entry. The other pit lane speeders, I can get a chance to do this now. 91, Pietro Parolini. 78, the Zonzini and Colombini car, and also, not that it matters now because it's off the road, number 5 of Gregor Mokczulski. That was the one that caused the elongated safety car period last time around. So just before the cars restarted, he prompted in the grab, if you recall. 4.5 minutes to go. So Loris Spinelli, the race leader. Dimitri Gavatseva running second on the road, but like I say, with the unpenalised Stefan Tribodini in third place, he could well be the man to watch on that restart. So safety car is on its last lap. Gavatseva's pit stop was a 10th quicker than that of Spinelli, and he got 6/10, so I'm leaning towards something like a half a second penalty for Spinelli, which I don't think is going to be enough to take the win off him. But he's the man that leads on the road at the moment. Stefan Tribodini, his class rival. But as far as Pro-Am is concerned, Gavatseva versus Lewis Williamson is something to get excited about. But it might be that we only get one more racing lap. The safety car is going as quickly as it can. What do we have here at the Variante Alta? We have the usual curb hopping, and then we have contact. And that turned around Eli Dubeli. And was that Holger Harmsen who was the aggressor? Right, back into the race has just gone number 5. So Gregor Mokczulski has been pulled out of the gravel and has blasted back into the race. 3 minutes and counting, and a flying lap is a 1 minute 41. They might get 2 laps out of it after all. Downhill comes the field. So from, what do we have, 36 starters, 2 minutes, we've lost a fair number, let's put it that way. Lights out on the safety car then, so that will peel in at the end of this lap. And the safety car comes towards the end of another use. It's been busy in this race, but it's an extra Lamborghini to look at as well. So 61, Loris Spinelli gets ready for the restart. A flying lap is a 1 minute 40. Just over 2 minutes on the clock as he comes up towards the line then. Accelerates away and tries to get the drop over everybody and succeeds in so doing. So he should counter the penalty by that. Dimitri Gavatseva in second place, but Lewis Williamson there in the green-backed car, the Oregon multicoloured entry. He's got to get through the traffic. They will have time for 2 more laps as they go through. So Lewis Williamson trying to hunt down number 9 of Dimitri Gavatseva. That's the one to look for now as they head towards Tamburello. Other battles lower down include number 13 there, which is Stefan Guerin, under attack from Dan Wells in his Pro-Am car, who is heading for a podium as the cars come to the Villeneuve chicane then for the penultimate time. Out turns the leader, Loris Spinelli. Into Tosa now, through that left-hander and make the climb up the hill. So this lap 21, and the clock ticks on down with 1 more lap still to be squeezed in after this one. And therefore there's still a lot up for grabs as heading up the hill. Bonek Formanek, a look to the inside line there, but it wouldn't work for that move. What about the other classes? Can anything change in the AMs? Stefan Guerin is far enough ahead of Gabriel Rindoni, I think. In Lamborghini Cup, Gerard van der Horst has put himself back ahead of Hans Fabry, and there's a gap between those two. So I think Gerard van der Horst should be okay for a class victory. But as far as Pro-Am is concerned, Dimitri Gavatsova is hanging on to the class lead because he's hanging on to second place overall. He's pretty good, actually, at coping with the pressure here. He was able to keep Spinelli at bay for longer than anticipated, and the same is true with Stefan Tribodini on his tail. The incident between Elie Dubelli and Holger Harmsen is being looked at. Gavatsova comes down towards Ravazza with right on his tail Stefan Tribodini, then Manuel Bajarano. That is Dan Wells going through, running 7th, but he's also got a pit stop penalty hanging over him as the cars now accelerate up towards the line. So the leader absolutely storming away. Loris Spinelli has just done the fastest lap of the race as he goes through. Stefan Guerin, the leading AM, 7th overall. And he's got a fair amount of traffic between himself and Gabriel Rindoni, so that's good news for him at the moment. Take some of the pressure off. Race leaders then out of the Villeneuve chicane. Last lap. And there's Lewis Williamson, who can't get through the traffic to get to Gavatsova, and the traffic can't get past him either. So Dimitri Gavatsova's pace here is impressive, no question about it. Had a first season in Super Trofeo last year and looking good. So a Pro-Am victory heading his way. The FIA recognised driver comes then up through Piratella. And frustration for the Oregon Lewis Williamson, Massimo Ciglia car, just can't clear the traffic. Loris Spinelli, who's not had really many racing laps to do in this stint, is trying to make this as good as it can be. He's already done the fastest lap, he's going quicker again, he's got a clear road ahead of him, he's got the checkered flag at the end of it. He wants to make sure he counters the penalty that he's got, 10th of a second for being short on the pit stop. He comes over the brow now, down towards Rivazza. This is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th out of Variante Alta. Lewis Williamson still trying to find a way up past Manuel Bajarano, but fair play to Dimitri Gavatsova because he's hung on to 2nd place and the class lead, despite all the pressure being applied behind. Comes now up through Rivazza, out of which is Loris Spinelli, and it's going to be 2 out of 2 for Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing, the checkered flag at the ready. A very, very happy team cheers him home. And so the Benaldi Motorsport car, Loris Spinelli, Max Wearing, the drivers, take race honours in 2nd place, and a win in Pro-Am. Dimitri Gavatsova and his co-driver, good first stint by Milan Petelet. Stefan Tribodini and Jean-Luc Daria take 3rd ahead of soloist Manuel Bajarano. Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia 5th. Dan Wells and Oscar Lee 6th over the line ahead of Stefan Guerin to win in AM. Amaury Bonduel is 8th from Antonin Borga, and Danny Pedrosa finishing 9th. And 10th will be Gabriel Orindoni. Gerard van der Horst wins the Lamborghini Cup part of the race. And they're the dominant car in a sense, because Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli's pace undisputed over the course of the weekend. And car 21 is having a time penalty quickly applied, which is Gabriel Rindoni. Doesn't affect the class win, but where was he in relation to Andrei Lewandowski? Far enough ahead. Yeah, it won't affect the class result there either. So sigh of relief all round for the Luxembourgish driver. He'll fall down to 12th in the classification. Dimitri Gavatsova's penalty, though, did drop him behind Stefan Tribodini. He keeps the class win, but changes 2nd place overall. So Loris Spinelli, the winner, by 6.8 seconds on corrected times over, in the end, Stefan Tribodini. And then for 3rd place, Dimitri Gavatsova and Milan Petelet, but as I say, they still take the class win. So drivers on their cool-down lap, top 3 in Pro. 61 the winner, Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing from number 6. Stefan Tribodini and Jean-Luc Daria and Manuel Bajarano took 3rd. Pro-Am still won despite the penalty by Dimitri Gavatsova and Milan Petelet from Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia, and 3rd, another penalised car, that of Dan Wells and Oscar Lee. The winning AM, there he is Stefan Guerin from Gabriel Rindoni and Andrei Lewandowski, and Lamborghini Cup won by Gerard van der Horst ahead of Hans Fabry and then Francois Grin in 3rd place. Drive-through penalty for number 90 Holger Harmsen for causing a collision converted to 30 seconds, but then he was in the gravel, so it didn't matter. Drive-through for number 13, Stefan Guerin. Now this is significant. So the AM leader has been given a 30-second penalty. Now that's not yet been applied to the timing screen, so I think things are about to change in Am. So Stefan Guérin's penalty, where does 30 seconds put him? Let's have a look. He went across the line. Now, has that penalty now been given to him? Gabriel Rindoni is going to take the class win. And Stefan Guérin is going to be, gosh, 26th overall. So the penalty just applied. So he loses the class win and ends up 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th in class. So Gabriel Rindoni will win from Andrei Lewandowski. And then in 3rd in the class now is going to be Raffaele Giannone up from the back of the grid. It's a pit stop infringement for Stefan Guérin. Doesn't say whether it was short on the time or whether it was an infringement of a different form, whether it was, for example, pit lane speeding or too many people in the pit lane or other regulations contravene. But the net result is that it's a penalty, and it's a very serious one because it loses him that class win. So the winning drivers then with their teams. For Loris Spinelli, relatively little to do in that, but he did have to try and build up the lead once again, of course. And Max Weering will be a happy man for sure, because that is 2 out of 2. Perfect way to start the season. There is Loris Spinelli, there is Max Weering. And at the end of a great weekend at Imola, they can reflect on a double win.
That was an eventful race in some ways, but really not in other ways. But congratulations, your 2nd win of the weekend.
Yeah, the speed was overall the weekend quite good. We weren't able to show it for this race. There was a lot of safety cars, and it made it quite difficult to do a real race. But yeah, the win is there and the points are there. So for the championships, it's quite great. But next to that, it's not a race like this is not the most fun race, but it is what it is.
It's still a win, and that still counts. And you guys have set the bar for this season.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect weekend, we can say, with maximum points. And also today I felt car really fast, especially in the last part of the track of the race. I did the fastest lap, so I'm really happy. Thanks to the team, to Max, and let's keep like this.
Congratulations once again. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
So good drive by Loris Spinelli and Max Weering. And confirmation of the results then, with the win for the Dutch-Italian partnership ahead of Jean-Luc Daria and Stefan Tribolini. So they benefited in a sense from the penalty for Milan Petelet and Dimitri Gavazova, because they fell to 3rd. Manuel Bergerano, soloist, 4th, ahead of Massimo Chiglia and Lewis Williamson. Dan Wells and Oscar Lee, 6th overall, 3rd in class, despite, again, a penalty for being a bit short on the pit stop. Amaury Bonduel, 7th, from Danny Pedrosa and Anthony Horka, ahead of Bronek Fumanek and Josef Saruba. Gabriel Rindoni takes 10th. And in the end, of course, the AM class win, and that was thanks to the post-race penalty being given to Stefan Guérin. In the Lamborghini Cup, Gerard van der Horst, the winner from Hans Fabry and Francois Grimm. So quite a lot going on for the officials, what with all the safety car periods, plus all the penalties needing to be applied for pit stop infringements. But in the end, the win for Loris Spinelli and Max Weering, got to say, never looked a huge amount of doubt, but you see how many didn't finish, and indeed a couple of non-starters, Luciano Trivitello and Alessandro Tarabini, not getting into the race, sadly. So drivers then, in a moment or two, will make their way up to the podium. Quick look at the highlights of that race, which involved a good getaway by the pole-sitting Brendan Leach, but behind him, Max Weering tried to take the battle to him as they wriggle their way up through the Tamburello chicane for the first time. At Tosa, the field all concertinaing as the field turned through the left-hander on the power up the hill, and the leading two starting to get away as Brendan Leach and Max Weering battled amongst themselves. Good scraps further down the order as well, with the Marc Rostin Cody Gosselin car moving through on the inside of Hans Fabry, and number 14, which was the Oregon entry, in the hands of Enrico Bettera, also trying to gain ground. We had a full course yellow period though early. That resulted in a lot of pit stops being taken all at the same time. and it also put number 9, that stopped a lap later, into the lead of the race. Dmitry Gavatsova rejoining, but he was short on the pit stop time. That meant that a post-race penalty would need to be applied, cost him the second place overall, but not the class win. On the restart, everybody made their bid for a place, and although Loris Spinelli was looking for a way past Dmitry Gavatsova, it took him a little bit longer than anticipated as the cars then swung their way up towards the chicane. Off the road and back on again went Gavatsova, straight line the chicane, ran across his way onto the circuit, but eventually did lose out as up and past him went Loris Spinelli into a lead he was never to lose, even with yet another safety car period as Holger Halmsen ended up in the gravel. It meant that as the cars turn out of the Variante Alta, Spinelli set the fastest lap of the race, charged clear, and made it 2 from 2 here at Imola for Bonaldi Motorsport and for Spinelli himself and for Max Weering. So drivers then to make their way in a moment up onto the podium. The sun's starting to break through again here at Imola. It is a pretty chilly weekend, must be said, and one of the reasons that the majority of races are having extra formation laps is because of the fact that getting tyre temperature is not easy. So everybody here wrapped up warm. Great circuit, Imola, good old school circuit. Yes, it's evolved over the years, inevitably, but so has all the echoes of its long, long past. Home of the San Marino Grand Prix. And so as now the Lamborghini dignitaries are ready, including Stefan Winkelmann, the CEO of the company, technical director Maurizio Reggiani in the background on his phone. Drivers then step forward, and the pro category will be first, where for the third step out will come, or should come, Manuel Bergerano. Are we doing top 3 overall here potentially? So if we are, Milan Petelet and Dmitry Gavatsova first. So drivers for the podium: Loris Spinelli and Max Weering, then the overall winners for the second time this weekend. The top 3 overall then, Milan Petelet and Dmitry Gavatsova on the right as you look at it. On the far left then, Jean-Luc Daria, Stefan Tribodini, and the trophy is now brought forward for Stefan Winkelmann to present. And of course in the middle there are race winners Max Weering and Loris Spinelli. Loris has quite a collection of Lamborghini Super Trofeo trophies after many successful years, both in Europe and North America. Stefan Winkelmann hands over the trophies. So Loris Spinelli now, Max Weering, all smiles. Frustrating race in a way because of the interruptions, but a win, a win, a win. And Max Weering has got to be looking pretty confident now for the remainder of the season. Then for the winners, there is the Pirelli Trophy as well. And photographs to be taken first before the champagne goes too far around. So all smiles from the top 3, which of course include the Pro-Am winners there. Milan Petelet, first weekend in Super Trofeo for him, and Dmitry Gavatsova, who did drive well to soak up that pressure. And yes, there was the penalty, but that was for the pit stop time rather than anything a driver did out on track. You can always blame the team if it's a pit stop infringement because they released you at the wrong moment. That's always the line from a driver. So a clink of the bottles. Happy drivers on the podium. And this then is how the championship looks overall, with Max Weering and Loris Spinelli ahead of Jean-Luc Daria and Stefan Tribodini, with Manuel Bergerano third. He's a soloist. the best of the Pro-Am's 4th overall, Milan Petele and Dimitri Gavatseva, from then Dan Wells and Oscar Lee, tied with Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia. So there are points to be scored overall, but it's in the individual classes, of course, that the drivers are fighting. So, good action from Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Look forward to the rest of a good season. For now, from Imola, goodbye.